Hi guys, it's Emily from Doe Deer Nursery here with Little Miss Scarlet. We're in Los Angeles. We got in late last night, and I posted on Instagram yesterday if you guys wanted a story time video about my experience with TSA, bringing a reborn doll through security. And I got a lot of responses saying, yes, please tell us, I've never done it before and I want to know how it goes, or I have done it before and I want to hear other people's experiences. So that's what I'm going to do today. I want to first apologize if it gets pretty noisy in the background. I'm currently at my boyfriend's family's house. Everyone's out right now, which is why I'm just hanging out here with Scarlett. And they do live pretty close to an airport, and I'm pretty close to a relatively busy street, so there may be some planes and cars and stuff in the background, but we'll do our best. So I guess let me start at the beginning by saying I had this trip planned to come to Los Angeles for a visit to see some friends and family and all that good stuff. Originally, my boyfriend and I were going to be driving here, but through kind of a series of events, we ultimately decided we were going to fly down. And so I knew from having watched YouTube videos and heard stories from other reborn collectors on YouTube and Instagram that they didn't suggest checking your reborn in a suitcase, kind of in the lower part of the plane. And I wasn't really comfortable with that idea anyway. It made me a little nervous, especially since I knew that our flight wasn't going to be direct. I definitely didn't want to risk anything happening to her, the suitcase getting lost, anything like that. So I did decide from the beginning that I was going to carry her on in my duffel bag. So sorry for the abrupt change in scenery, guys. I ended up having to move locations. But continuing on with the story, so I did decide from the beginning that I was going to bring her in my duffel bag and carry her on the airplane. So I knew that I was going to have to put her through security, and I was definitely a little bit concerned. If you watch my packing for Vacation with Reborn video, you'll see how I packed her in the duffel bag and everything I put in there with her. So I felt like she was pretty securely packed, and I didn't really have all too much in there other than her and some baby clothes, and then my camera tripod. So we get to the airport, we check our bags, we head to security, and start doing the usual stuff, putting, our jackets and shoes and laptops in a bin, and then I just put the duffel bag on the conveyor belt with her in and started putting her through. And just in general, I feel like completely unreborn related, I always end up having my bags selected for extra checking by TSA, not because there's anything in particular in them, I just feel like it happens to me a lot. So yeah, we walk through the scanner, my boyfriend and I'm out on the other side kind of waiting to see my bins and my duffel bag come through. And of course, I see up on the scanner, I can see my duffel bag, I can see the x-ray, you can see her in there, and then I see them pull my bag off the conveyor, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So I'm kind of standing at the conveyor, waiting for something to happen, and one of the TSA agents kind of looks at me and goes, is this your bag? And I just said, yes, there's a baby doll in there. I kind of wanted to immediately address it before they started asking me. And he kind of, didn't give me a particular look or anything, but I think was just surprised to hear me say that. I said, yes, there's a baby doll in there. And he made the comment, which I thought was kind of funny. He's like, oh yeah, looking at it on the x-ray, it looks like it has a brain or something. And I don't think he meant that they were actually concerned about that fact. I think he was just kind of lightheartedly telling me that's what it looked like on the x-ray. And looking at the x-ray, you could see the bag of glass beads inside her head, and sure enough, it kind of did look like a brain. But again, obviously there clearly wasn't an actual child in the duffel bag. So yeah, then they pull the bag aside and they say, okay, we're going to go take it to the check area if you follow me down here. So I followed the TSA agent. It was a young man, probably about my age. And we get to the little stand, and he starts opening it up. They ask you not to touch the bag, which, of course I said was fine. And he starts kind of feeling around in it, just sort of around where she's wrapped. And he says they're looking for, something that appears to maybe be a sharp object or something on the camera. And they're looking through. And I said, oh, is it maybe the tripod? And he goes, no, it's not the tripod. And so he continues to search, and he still, I guess, can't seem to find whatever it is they're seeing on the x-ray that they're looking for. So he says, would you mind taking the doll out of the bag for me? And I said, sure, no problem. So I lift her out. She's all wrapped in her swaddle blanket, and I set her down and he says, would you open her up for me? And I said, yeah, sure. And I unwrap her, and I uncover her face, and I, of course, immediately see him react, I think, as you expect people to, who maybe never seen a Reborn before, or, we're not expecting to see a doll this realistic when you say there's a baby doll in the bag. And he just goes, whoa, that looks real. And I immediately sort of felt the need to explain. I said, yes, I'm a Reborn doll artist. I make these for a living. I made this one. They're meant to look very realistic. And he kind of is like, I think kind of in awe in both a creeped out way and a positive way. He's kind of like, oh, wow, okay. And he says, okay, so what I'll need to do is, can I just run the doll through again on her own? And I said, yes, but could I please wrap her in the blanket and put her in a bin so that she's protected, because these are valuable. And he says, oh, yeah, that's fine, no problem. We'll just run the duffel bag without her in it on its own and run a bin with the doll in it. And I said, okay, that's fine. So I wrap her up, and I watch him take both my duffel bag and the bin with Scarlett in it back to the scanner, and I'm kind of staying where I'm standing a little ways off. And I see him talking to the other TSA agents. Again, nothing negative, or, I couldn't hear anyone's direct conversation. But, I see people peeking and stuff, and I did see, he runs her through the scanner, and on the way back, I see him mouthing to someone else, like, it looked like a real baby face, which I thought was pretty funny. So they ended up finding something completely unrelated in my duffel bag that, was just looking odd on the x-ray, which I think maybe if that had been the only thing in my bag, they might have still stopped me. They might have not. I'm not sure. Maybe if that object hadn't been in my bag and Scarlett just had been, maybe they would have stopped me. Maybe they wouldn't. I don't know. I think it was kind of the conjunction of the two. This one object that looked like a sharp object to them, as well as this bizarre-looking thing that looked like it had a brain on the x-ray. I think the combination of the two is what made them pull my bag to check. So I won't go out and say it was, exclusively because of my Reborn doll that they stopped me. I just think that was a factor in it. So when he brought her back, I just sort of said, is everything all good? And he said, yeah, it's fine. And again, he reiterated, he's like, it just looked strange on the scan. It looked like, there was a brain in there, or it looked like a baby, even though we knew it wasn't a real baby, or something along those lines. Not exactly those words, just kind of reiterating kind of the strangeness of the whole situation. And then what I found most interesting was at that point he asked if he could see her face one more time. And I could tell he wasn't asking in terms of being a TSA agent. I think he was just interested. And I said, yeah, absolutely. So I uncovered her face and he went, man, that's crazy. It just looks so much like a real baby. And I said, oh, yeah, thank you. That's my job. And I said, you could take a picture or anything if you want. He said, oh, we're not allowed to take pictures, but I would. And I said, well, you could hold her or something if you want. And he kind of looked at me, I think a little bit surprised, but also intrigued. And he went, yeah, sure. Which I don't even really know why I said that. I think I was just trying to diffuse any weirdness of the situation. So I was kind of equally surprised that he agreed. So I just told him, she's heavy, like a real baby, so you just have to hold her carefully. And I just placed her in his arms, and he just kind of held her a little bit awkwardly, kind of like, this for a moment, and just went, whoa, that's crazy, and then handed her back to me, and I wrapped her up, and was like, okay, are we all set? And he said, yeah, you're good, thanks so much, and I rushed to catch my flight. But yeah, that's how it went. So For my first time bringing a Reborn doll through security or on an airplane, I would say it didn't go too bad. I mean, TSA was very respectful, and careful with her. I've definitely heard horror stories of people having issues. And again, I don't think she was exclusively the reason they pulled my bag. I did have another unrelated object in my bag that just looked weird to them on camera, and so they needed to investigate it further, as did they need to investigate her further. My biggest concern when he said it looked like she had a brain was that they were going to ask me to remove the head or something. Thankfully, it didn't come to anything like that at all. It was all fine. But yeah, it was just kind of a funky experience. So I hope you guys enjoyed my bit of a rambling story. It was just, I wanted to tell it to you while it was still pretty fresh, as it was a new experience for me. And I hope that if any of you guys are thinking about traveling with your Reborns, I encourage you to do it. I mean, I know it might be a little scary or awkward or embarrassing, during the process. But overall, I think if you just explain what it is and if you're respectful, I'm sure TSA will treat your things respectfully, or at least I hope they would. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.